What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here. Dean78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. Why are we on so early? It's 4:45 on the East Coast because that's the plan going forward. Lots of big slates. We have a lot of time to have conversations to delve into what's going on, breaking stuff down, and 10 gamer, not messing around tonight. So going forward, 4:45. That is the start time on the East Coast. We'll be going to at least 6:15 if we need to, and of course, crunch time closes you all out for the premium members. Grant, man, you ready to do this? You pop your extends today? You good to go? If we happen to go like an hour and 15 minutes, you're gonna be able to last?
I've got a boot. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but you get where I was going. I was quoting super bad.
Yeah, sure. What's up, Grant? How are things in your world? A lot of trades, a lot of shenanigans. Man,
yeah. Gosh.
What?
I'm guessing we're gonna rant about the same thing. What is Sacramento thinking?
I mean, Vivek is a complete dope. They did get rid of Lottie. Lottie's gone. I didn't realize that, but the owner, you remember the owner a couple of years ago? He said Buddy Hield is like basically Steph Curry. He was a salary dump. I guess they think Sabonis is the next Dirk or Larry Bird or whatever. Like Sabonis is fine, and it's not his fault for being.
I mean, I get that they have Mitchell, Halliburton, and Fox. Like they should have gotten rid of Fox. Like that was the obvious thing to do.
They couldn't
get rid of
contracts. It's impossible. They couldn't dump it. They tried.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could. Like, I don't know. They probably should have tried to get rid of Fox to like Cleveland or something instead. Like, given it like up pretty easily would be my guess.
Have you seen De'Aaron Fox's contract? 5-year, $163 million. It's basically untradeable.
I mean, I don't. They could trade for Westbrook.
Well, no, Westbrook's only like a 1-year deal, I think, right? Isn't he done at the end of the year? I think this is it for him, but I do think
he has 2 years left.
Yeah, I feel bad for Kings fans, and the other part is like, there's no big name free agent, like you mentioned, Cleveland. The only way these teams can rise is if LeBron James is born in your city and he's like, okay, I guess I'll sign there because, I liked it, or in the same state, whatever. Or if you land on somebody like Evan Mobley, now you got a shot, but like no premiers, no offense to Cleveland or Sacramento, but like, you're just not going to get like the Kevin Durant's of the world signing with you. And that's kind of what happened. It's a general rule,
Paul George went to OKC. I think we could see, Drew got sent over to Milwaukee. We could see more of that going in the future. I mean, I have a feeling
Giannis is there too. If Giannis isn't there, and the Holiday's not staying there. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you need to keep peace, but like you're not getting a super team from nothing like Brooklyn or LA. Like LA technically had a lot of pieces that traded over to New Orleans, and the Clippers obviously traded a lot for Paul George. Yeah, I mean, I could see Memphis being the next team that kind of turns into OKC.
Yeah, but they kind of fell into it, like they're getting, I don't want to say getting lucky, but just drafted well. With Bane was awesome.
They got lucky with Morant. They drafted well with Triple J. They got lucky with Triple J. They drafted well with Bane.
Yeah, and like Memphis should be fun for the next couple of years, and I hope those guys stay, but who knows how that goes down. Of course, Memphis not one of the biggest markets in all of basketball. And the other thing is like the contract for Halliburton. He's like got a 4-year deal, like $16 million. And I know Sabonis is a good deal too, like 4 years, $80 million, something like that, which is good. But I mean, he's just 21 still, Tyrese.
Yeah,
he's already really good. Like I feel bad for the Kings fans. It's kind of rough. Stevie, what's your take as far as this trade? And of course, that was not the only trade that happened today. A couple of days ago, we saw Bledsoe, Winslow, Keon Johnson get traded, Covington and Powell as well. But the other big one today, of course, is the second foot drop for Portland. Second shoe, I guess, is McCollum and Nance and Tony Snell, Josh Hart, Satoransky. But your thoughts as far as the trades? And yeah, it is also important to note in our world, there might be more coming. The trade deadline, I believe, is Wednesday or Thursday. We might lose some. Westbrook might get traded tonight. I don't know who would trade for him. Maybe the Knicks. No idea. But stay tuned.
Houston.
Why? Why would Houston possibly trade
Wall?
What is the point?
Trade a player that you're not playing for a player that you're going to drop with the same exact contract.
But what's the point? Why would Houston do this?
For picks.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, maybe I suppose. Wall, I would think would get traded, like, but I don't know. And why haven't they showcased them at least a little bit? They show he can still bounce the ball. I imagine he's fine. But who knows? Stevie, what's up?
Nothing. Do you remember when the Orlando Magic traded Sabonis and Victor Oladipo for Serge Ibaka? Like, nobody can complain about trades. No fan.
Remember when the Seattle Sonics traded cities?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't really. Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, that's kind of
the only people that can complain more is St. Louis
losing the Rams.
Yeah,
twice, right? They lose them twice.
Yep. Once. No, I think they lost them once. The Rams have been in LA twice.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah. Stevie, that's another one of the cities. The Magic were just. What was the biggest free agent you guys got? Was oh boy, I'm trying to think of the biggest free agent signing the Magic have had over the years. The shooter from Seattle, Rashard Lewis. You guys paid him a max contract like 20 years ago, and that,
wasn't Tracy McGrady a free agent pickup? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was a free agent pickup. Now I'm gonna have to go research that, but I think so. Is this like the ending of like Lillard in Portland? Like, is it done now?
I think
it has to be.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if we see Nurkic move before the trade deadline now, and I wouldn't be shocked if like someone says, "Hey, we'll take a shot on Lillard as well."
Yeah, I mean, the first trade for Portland was just like a straight salary dump, right? When they traded Powell and traded Covington for Winslow and Bledsoe, and I guess Tion Johnson's kind of sort of a dart. But now I guess Satoransky, Nas, 24 now at this point. I think he kind of sort of is who he is, and I don't know what the chances of him becoming something is. And I don't want to say he's a flop, but the ceiling has certainly fallen on him. Josh Hart's pretty solid. Satoransky, is what he is. They certainly lost that trade on paper. And Lillard, I think he's signed for the next like 3 or 4 years or so, or something like that. And I don't think he plays another game this year for Portland. He's got an injury, and why would they rush him back just to get pummeled anyway? But maybe if he gets moved, he can play. I don't know, but maybe the offseason as well. That's an interesting thought, Stevie. And I don't know where he would go, but
Tracy McGrady was a trade from Houston. You're right.
Yeah, I also tried to play baseball. Remember that? He was a pitcher very briefly. I'm sure you recall this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Tracy McGrady, one of my favorites of all times. But I mean, what he did with the Magic was cool. What Dwight Howard did with the Magic was cool. But I mean, you live in a city like Orlando, and you're going to have like maybe once every 20 years, like a big time playoff run. And it's going to be more of just like home cooking players than, going out and getting a LeBron. Kind of what you're saying, Dean, as far as like Cleveland is concerned.
Yeah.
Cleveland, a very good young team, but does a star really want to go to Cleveland? I mean, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, like, is you gotta like Cleveland. I don't know. Hopefully they can get Mobley for the rest of his career, but I don't know if they can or if they will or whatever.
Hopefully they can get Garland for the rest of his career.
He's been good too. And me and you, Grant, we've talked about this off air before, like Colin Sexton, whatever, his stock has plummeted. He's injured, and like all of a sudden this team has started to rise out of it. He looks like one of those guys, just kind of a stat stuff where it's not really helping you win. And who knows if he comes back 100% or not, but they don't miss him. He was a good stat guy, but like, and I think he's a free agent end of the year coming up. So it's gonna be curious.
It's either this year or next year.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be curious how that's handled.
But LeVert was an incredible pickup by them.
Yeah, we talked about this too, and it's funny because I was saying the other day about LeVert, I was like, I don't think he's that great. I think he's a good like sixth man, and I think he works perfectly for Cleveland. Good DFS guy. Obviously, there's two different conversations you're always sort of having, and people might hear it differently. And I maybe I don't make it clear. Like Hassan Whiteside's a very good DFS player, but he's not somebody I want on my the team I like. I don't want him on that team. I don't think he's helping them win. But yeah, talk about that. LeVert landing on Cleveland, is that? I think you mentioned before. I think you have some shares of Cleveland winning the East. He increases their chances. I mean, I don't think it's likely, but it's better than the 60-1, whatever the odds are.
Yeah, I mean, I think I get 100K if Cleveland wins. One of my bigger future bets out there. I mean, I got 101.
Oh, I had a future on Cleveland and it got canceled. I'm so sad.
Oh, the Hard Rock app, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I had a future on Utah and a future on Cleveland. Oh.
I had a future on Jimmy Butler to win MVP, and I got reimbursed for it because the Hard Rock app just like said, "Oh, holler, we're here." They made a cameo appearance here in Florida, so sometimes it works out in my favor because Jimmy Butler's not going to win MVP. Finish your thought there, Grant.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
The
Cleveland's looking pretty decent. I mean, are they even first in the East? I can't remember. But they're up there.
They're up there.
Like Kevin Love is a perfect six man, and Garland's a star, Mobley's a star, Jared Allen's looking fantastic, and then they have a bunch of role players that they can just kind of throw in the rest of the way. So adding LeVert in there, like a shooter, because they're a great defensive team. Like adding LeVert in, a guy that can create his own shot, a guy that can do a lot, so they can't just cover the guys in the middle and then force Garland to try and do something. It's really just a perfect fit to add another offensive weapon to an all right offensive team, but a very good defensive team.
Not relevant for tonight, but Bradley Beal's getting shut down, season-ending surgery. As far as the Eastern,
and Trevor Bauer's not going to jail.
I did see that too. Like charges have been dropped, and who knows how baseball is going to handle that. But yeah, that doesn't. Well, not worth getting into. 5 teams.
We don't need to talk about that. That's just going to cause.
Yeah, 5 teams in the East. By the way, the low Miami, Milwaukee, Chicago, Cleveland, Philadelphia, all with either 20 or 21 losses. It's really, really condensed there in the East. That's pretty interesting. And by the way, your Memphis Grizzlies would be the number 1 team in the East. You know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
37-18. They would have the best record if they happen to be in the East. Which is
am I allowed to be a Grizzlies fan if I just went straight to them as soon as the Sonics left and they haven't done anything for like 8 years?
Were you a Grizzlies fan like last year and the year prior? You told me you liked Zebo.
I've been a Grizzlies fan since the Sonics left, and it was Zebo, Marc Gasol, like Conley, Tony Allen, all those guys.
All right, we got a 10-gamer tonight. We did jump on a little bit earlier, and that's what we're going to do and going forward again. And that's how we can get into these side conversations as well. Of course, not every slate's going to be a 10-gamer. We do have to get on track as far as tonight's DFS slate. Just one game tonight at 7 o'clock, which I like. That always buys myself some extra time, depending on how important that 7 o'clock game happens to be. I'm running some optimals as well as we speak. It's, with all these teams involved in some trades, there's some potential cheapies. It feels like a stars and scrubs slate. I'm just kind of like using our
potential. There's a ton of cheapies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Justice Winslow, DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., Nectat James
all
Johnson,
of Portland,
all
of Brooklyn,
CJ Ellaby, Blake Griffin, Kessler Edwards. So there you go. So I just went to the lineup HQ tool here, DraftKings, sorted by dollar for dollar best plays, and Justice Winslow is we're assuming he draws the start. We're assuming he plays 30 minutes tonight versus Orlando. Of course, Portland, those 2 big trades, they're down to what, 8, 9 players? I think it's 9. Yeah, 9. But we're assuming it's Simons, McLemore, Ellaby, Winslow, Nurkic with Watford, DSJ, Brown, and Blevins off the bench. So Grant, speak to that tonight. And there's all the stars, not all the stars, a lot of stars are available this evening as well. Jokic and Embiid, of course, there's a lot of cheapies at center as well. So prioritizing that position, opportunity cost, yada, yada. Giannis, LeBron, I believe that's an ESPN game. The Lakers are basically on national TV, like the next 10 games or something like that, which is kind of wild. But so and Westbrook may get traded or just get benched. We'll see. Talk to me about this slate, Grant.
All right, 1 second. First, bang the drum and saying that, no one can really say anything because I'm a Detroit fan. Lions, enough said. Yeah, you have the Red Wings and you had the Pistons be great for several years. So
how old is he though? Like if he maybe he wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the Red Wings have been bad for a while, I believe, but they did have a great run, like late 90s or early aughts.
Yeah. Yeah, but this slate's pretty simple. Like you can pretty much cross off like 150 players. That might be an exaggeration, but like a lot of guys you can easily cut off. Like these it's really simple. Like you look at RG projected value and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys over 5 on DraftKings and like 25, 30 in the positive range. Like, so it's pretty simple. It's stars and scrubs, most likely figuring out which scrubs you like, figuring out which stars you like. So I don't think you can take some shots on the mid tier. You can definitely take some shots on the high priced guys, but I think you just stick with whatever combination of cheaper guys you can get.
Stevie, what's your thoughts before we're going to dive in and break it down position by position? No, not position by position. game by game. And also, we should mention, what's up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. We're going to break down the slate in just a second. Whatever you don't talk about to 10 gamers, we might miss a couple things. Feel free to ask us about it. We will, talk about that. We'll answer all your questions. Where are you putting your questions? You're putting them in the Rotogrinders Discord. Rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go to the live stream chat channel. I know when Grant's on here, he likes to drop some of his bets in there to entice y'all to join the conversation. Grant, you have
might as well do that now.
Yeah, sprinkle them in though. Don't give them all the goods. Give them
I am the captain of the ship. I am the captain now. I do what I want.
They're asking for prize picks winners for you right now, actually, as we speak, and I see you're dropping some stuff in there.
This is what I bet early in the day, so the lines may be worse. I don't know.
Rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. It's not a premium channel. Anybody can join it. Right below the other non-premium channel, which is Chiefs Prop Shop, which is a great, if you're playing prize picks, that's a good place. They talk that kind of stuff all day long and all night as well with CSGO and every possible sport you can imagine. All right, what's up there, live stream chat? Do say hello. Do throw out some questions. Producer Steve's compiling them. He's going to throw them my way in the show. Stevie, general assessment, general thoughts as far as this slate tonight.
Stars and scrubs. I mean, when you have this much value on a slate for a DFS slate, it's just you get the studs that you want and you build around it with all the value. I think that's just the way that a lot of people are going to approach. And I mean, sure, you could try to be different with a balanced approach, but I think you'd be different with maybe taking a chance on like one of these high-end studs that might come in at lower ownership than trying to play the balance game today.
All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in, break it down game by game. Only game at 7 o'clock is Phoenix at Philadelphia. 217.5 is the total. Not a big old number, should be tight. Philadelphia is a 1.5 point favorite here in this contest. Phoenix, we're expecting to be basically the same as is. Payne has been out. Shamet has been out. Otherwise, standard lineups. Philadelphia pretty healthy. They're without Milton. Thibault is questionable for what it's worth. I'm pulling up our lineup HQ tool as far as the ownership prediction for this game. I don't think it's going to be very popular at all. Well, I mean, Embiid, you have the salary for on FanDuel for sure. He's 11K, and that just seems a little bit too cheap. Of course, you can only roster one center there. We do have 18% projected on FanDuel. Because again, you're going to have the salary, and that's a pretty good price at 11K. Booker, who's just shooting the lights out like crazy. Lots of points in the bucket. It's kind of how he has to get there, but he's been getting there. And of course, the minutes have been really elevated of late in the high 30s. We're looking at 11% ownership there. DK, nobody higher than 10%. That's Embiid. Then Booker, and then nobody else essentially higher than 2 or 3%. Grant, like as we always say, if you're running 150, like of course Embiid and Booker should be in your player pool, but are they priorities today? I don't think so. Like, I'm not going to say you can't play them, but I'm not seeking them out. Is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's pretty much Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Like, those are the two guys that you can really consider just because of their potential ceilings. Obviously, Booker has been one of the top usage guys in the league recently. He can get you a 70-point outing on any given night. Match versus Philly isn't generally a good one, so it's not really one many people are going to be on. He should be sub 10% ownership on DraftKings, a little bit cheaper over on FanDuel and Yahoo, so he might garner a little bit more ownership there. But realistically, he's not a guy that stands out as the best spend up on the slate or even close to the best spend up on the slate, but a guy that you can use, a guy that you can pivot off of, like Brandon Ingram is going to be way chalkier. So one of those guys where if you land in that salary range in whatever spot you need left that he can fit in, it's not the worst idea in the world to play him just to kind of pivot off of Ingram. Chris Paul, another guy, potentially put up a big night, could potentially give you 60 points, but not someone I really feel like throwing in my lineups.
I mean, it's back-to-back. It's travel for Phoenix.
A tough matchup, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I'm not here to discourage. I'm not here saying you can't do it. And also, Chris Paul's old. Like, he's been crushing of late. He's been great. Embiid, I will say this. Philadelphia does not play again until Friday. They didn't play yesterday, so, like, he's well-rested, and he'll get plenty of rest after this game. So maybe you get, Embiid playing 37, 38 minutes, and the matchup isn't necessarily great, but, he's kind of sort of matchup-proof. Stevie, I'm assuming this game isn't like enthralling to you, but again, Embiid may land up in one lineup that I'm making, not my premier lineup. I don't expect that to happen. What say you?
I mean, Embiid has the highest usage in the NBA over the last 10 games. Morant, Giannis, second and third. All three of these guys are on the same slate. Embiid's going to come in at much lower ownership than I think than a lot of the studs in the slate. So, I mean, he's a guy that we consistently talk about taking his point prop over because of just how much usage that he has on a nightly basis. So, I mean, I'm always down to play Joel Embiid, and we're getting him at 10% on DraftKings tonight. So we have the salary. Like, we could play two, maybe even three of these studs, depending on like if you go into the 12K or not range. I think Embiid's very much in play for tournaments. Like I said, man, his usage is just 43% over the last 9 games. That's just crazy. Like over 36 in like 9 out of the last 10 games. Like his usage is just insane right now.
Yeah, the most popular studs on this slate, like if you want to call Brandon Ingram a stud, is going to be Brandon Ingram and like Luka, from what I can tell on DK. They both kind of hit my cap as far as running optimals. And just let me check out what I have as far as FanDuel too. I just ran these. Of course, this stuff may change. Ingram and Luka both hit the cap, and Trae Young hit the cap. I think you can play all three. Yeah, like you can play Trae Young, Luka, and Ingram tonight on FanDuel. And that is, those three guys happen to be in the optimal as of right now as well. Let's move on to the next game, Boston and
Brooklyn. Want my thoughts on Embiid?
I'm sorry, I thought you did you not? I thought okay.
Be an all right play. Let's move on.
I thought I asked before. my bad. He's dynamite dropping. He's all right. Yeah, sure. You can play him. Why not? Boston, Brooklyn. This is the first half of the this is an ESPN. No, this is a TNT game. Congrats, TNT. You got Patty Mills and Necktat James Johnson. Enjoy. Boston versus Brooklyn, 213 is the total. Boston is an 8-point favorite, despite the fact being in Brooklyn, because of course Brooklyn is without the entirety of their big three. James Harden has got a hamstring. I'm doing air quotes. I don't know. He's not playing tonight. Kyrie, of course, we know he's not playing. Claxton's not playing. LMA is not playing. Paul Millsap's not playing. And of course, Kevin Durant's not playing, which means Brooklyn's got 10 dudes and their lineups are heavily volatile. There is some value stuff here. Like Blake Griffin is really popping, which is, on a 10-game slate is not the most comforting feeling. About as comforting as, Gordon Hayward. Too soon at Gordon Hayward yesterday. Cash the lineup of Gordon Hayward too. How about that? Hey, Stevie, how do you feel about the Brooklyn value?
I mean, you could play Griffin or James Johnson. They're fine. It's a tough matchup. This game's probably going to end in a blowout. Brooklyn doesn't really have a scorer. I don't know if you'd really consider like Patty Mills as a scorer. The real question is, does James Harden end the season in a Brooklyn uniform? I was reading something earlier today that like Philly and like Brooklyn is talking about a James Harden, Ben Simmons swap. So that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, because of the price, Blake Griffin, James Johnson, they're in play. But overall, it's not a great matchup against Boston. There's a ton of value on this slate. I think if you're looking at like projected ownership, Kessler Edwards is going to come in pretty low owned, and in a blowout, he probably still plays 35 minutes tonight. So he would be, I think, the guy that in large field tournaments I'd be looking at the most, especially considering his price.
Yeah, I mean, like Sharp would play in a blowout behind Griffin. Carter would probably be a blowout guy. David Duke would be a blowout guy. We're looking at 10 dudes. I don't know if Bembry would be. He may even start. We're projecting it's Mills, Thomas, Edwards, Johnson, Griffin. And as far as ownership stuff, like we're projecting 30% ownership on Blake Griffin on DK at 4.6K. James Johnson, 26%. 25%. Mills at 18%. Mills is like one of those guys, like he kind of sort of can create his own shot, but not really. I kind of like him like just kind of getting set up by one of the other guys.
Do you have any interest in Cam Thomas?
It's there. He theoretically can overthrow like Kessler Edwards mid game, and like he's it's hard to predict who's going to be the hot guy amongst those.
I mean, he's been hot the last few games, and like they need 3K. Someone to score. Yeah, it's not 3K, but I mean he's put a what was it 40 and 36 the last 2 games. Like he's been shooting the ball. He's had pretty good volume. Granted, he's been making a lot of shots, but they're going to need someone to score. He could potentially get run in a blowout still. I think he's an interesting piece at 4.8K if you want to do something a little bit different. But
so don't go on FanDuel, by the way. Just use 6K on FanDuel. But go ahead.
Yeah. And then I mean the rest of the guy, like Griffin and James Johnson, are two of the better value plays on the entire slate. I mean, they both should play minutes. They both are going to need to do a lot without Kyrie, Durant, and Harden in there. So they're guys that should see enough run and should see. Patty Mills is interesting, probably more interesting on FanDuel than DraftKings, or probably more interesting on Yahoo at $17. I think I tagged him over there. But yeah, like all these guys are interesting. You have to worry about a blowout. So if you want, like, play 2 or 3 of them, bring it back with Tatum, who's a pretty solid play over on the other side. And he's only the real good solid play on the other side.
I'm just running a court IQ. I can't kick everybody off the court here, Grant, but I'm kicking off because I won't get much of a sample size. I'm kicking off Harden, Durant, LMA, and Irving, right? In 90 minutes, Patty Mills, 30.6% usage. That's a pretty big number. 1.06 DK points per minute. Cam Thomas at 170 minutes, 28% usage, and 27% for Sharp. And they're Sharp at 1.26 fantasy points per minute. We're presuming that he'll back up Blake. But he can get 24 minutes. You can argue that. Cam Thomas over fantasy point minute as well 28 fantasy at 28% usage. But also the other part of it is, like, Stevie kind of alluded to it. Boston has been the best defensive team this year, this calendar year, 2022. It feels like it doesn't like look. I don't feel optimistic about Brooklyn. It feels like they're going to score 85 points here, but who knows? You were talking about Boston, Grant, as potential runbacks, and Brown and Tatum. Sure, they're fine, no problems. Are you elevating them to first lineup status? Probably not, but I think they're still good plays. Yes,
they're secondary and they're mostly guys. I'm like, if I have over 2 Brooklyn players, I'm bringing it back with Tatum. Like, I prefer Tatum drastically to Brown. Neither one have been great recently, but Tatum, I think, is the better play. I mean, it's a solid matchup going against Brooklyn. They don't really have anyone that's going to be able to stop him. I think he's probably my preferred player. But outside of that, I'm not playing Schroeder. I'm not playing, what's his name? Marcus Smart, most likely. Not excited to play Jaylen Brown. So I think I'd rather just go with Tatum and hope he has one of his massive outings that he occasionally has. And now I'm trying to figure out if I want to bet the Patty Mills over on points.
What's the number?
16.5.
I don't hate that. He's going to play, 34, 36 minutes? What do we have him projected for? We got him projected for 32. Oh, it seems a little low, 32. Is that just me?
I think they're incorporating blowout and median outcome.
Dennis Schroeder's 4-3 on DK, by the way. What happened to this dude? I think there's rumors of him potentially being on the trade block or Richardson being in the trade block. We'll see. Stay tuned on stuff like that. Stevie, what do you have as far as Boston?
Nothing. I mean, this game, if Harden plays this game, yeah, we could look at a Harden Tatum stack. With Harden out, I got nothing on Boston. I mean, you could take shots on Robert Williams if you want to, but they should crush Brooklyn in this game. And that's why this game's on a 10-game slate is no fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Brooklyn, so it's only an 8-point line, but on paper, it really looks like this Brooklyn team is outmatched by Boston, which is, pretty much fully healthy, obviously. Let's move on to the next game, Indiana and Atlanta, as far as who's in and who's out on this side. Well, we know Atlanta is a 12-point favorite against the Pacers. 227 is the total here. As far as Atlanta, they should be pretty much healthy with the exception of Lou Williams, who's, I'm not sure if he's officially out, but he's doubtful. Gallinari also questionable. We know Indiana is going to be without, they traded Sabonis, they traded Holiday, they traded Lamb. They traded Jeremy Lamb twice today. If you saw that Woj bomb. He's Jeremy Lamb and Jeremy Lamb. And I didn't even notice it because I was the whole time I'm like, Halliburton? What? Halliburton? Why? So Sabonis, Holiday, Lamb, Turner, McConnell, Terry Taylor is questionable with an illness. Their quote unquote center for a few days. Isaiah Jackson is still questionable too. He just destroyed lineups the other day, getting hurt in 22 seconds. And of course, Brogdon is questionable with his Achilles. It's a 7:30 game. We'll have news in this. Why would they play Brogdon? I just don't think that's going to happen. They rolled him out for like 5 games or something like that 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and maybe it was reevaluated, but I do not anticipate him playing. What a mess. Grant, what do you have for me as far as the Pacers? Gogo Batadze is kind of sort of somewhat interesting.
Yeah, Gogo's probably the main guy here. I mean, he should end up playing mid-20s minutes. He's obviously a pretty decent producer on a point per minute basis. He's the main guy. I think over on FanDuel or I think Yahoo has Washington super cheap. I think he's still a solid play over on DK, but not great. Duarte is kind of a fine play on all sites. Brissett should see mid-20s minutes. He's an okay play at 3.4K if you want to pivot off of some of the chalkier value plays. I mean, they don't have a lot of guys. They trade a lot of guys. Yeah, I mean, if Brogdon gets ruled out, then potentially you could look at Washington a bit more here. Sykes comes into play a little bit. But as of right now, like Goga's the only one that really stands out as a pretty decent play.
Yeah, I mean, ownership wise, we're looking at Gogo Batadze. We're projecting 26 minutes here, 4.2K on DK. Pretty solid fantasy point winner player. So we're seeing 16% ownership on him. It's the biggest number so far. And on FanDuel, who the heck knows if Brogdon's going to play or he's not? Like in theory, 7K is a good price, but we don't know if he's playing. Gogo Batadze, only one center you can play.
Think he gets traded?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he plays. But the thing
they got Halliburton. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and trade him off for some decent equity.
What's his trade value? What is his current contract status? Do you know? I don't know.
Let me see. I think it's pretty solid.
I mean, did they have him locked in for a few years? They got him from Milwaukee. 4 years, $85 million. When did that start?
He's got 1 more year left, so he's not like they're not winning next year. I think that they're more likely to just, hey, let's get some, like, because a lot of teams I feel like need him or could use him.
Who could use him right now?
Boston.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what Boston has to, make it work as far as the salary and all that, but
I mean, they can trade out. They can do a 3-team trade and get rid of Schroeder, which I'm sure a few teams need. Yeah, I mean, they could try and trade for Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Do you think Simmons gets moved?
Yes.
Yeah, to Brooklyn. I think that's more likely.
There's a lot of smoke on that one, right? Is that fire or smoke, or is that real? Is that what you're expecting, Stevie? Like the Harden Simmons deal to go down?
I really do think it happens. I could be wrong, but I mean, everything that I've read about it is like maybe Harden and Durant aren't just meant to play together. So
I don't think Harden, Durant, and Irving are meant to play together.
That whole thing seems like a mess.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to build a super team. It's not working. Simmons would be a good move, I think, for Harden, and I think it benefits both teams because then you get Simmons playing and Philly's getting something in return. And I mean, Embiid and Harden together, that pick and roll combo could be, could be really dirty.
Yeah, Harden, by the way, is sneaky old. He's like 33. But, hasn't really shown signs just yet. I
mean, if Simmons isn't going to play, don't you think Philly's going to do something?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. Yeah, why not? Like, I mean, how many years are you going to have him Embiid? Like, he's playing, at an absolute elite level right now. This team, as it's currently constructed, probably not going anywhere. Like, it's, maybe Eastern Conference semifinals or finals possibly, but I don't think it goes beyond that. Yeah, and Ben Simmons just kind of sitting on the sidelines, not helping him, obviously. If you can turn it into Harden, I'm sure they're not the team saying no. Brooklyn might be balking, but I don't think Philly's like, the Philly's all in on that. Stevie, your thoughts as far as the Pacers? Feel free to jump over. And as far as Atlanta, I do like that Trae Young price on FanDuel at 9K. Just seems too cheap, and he is popping at 33%. Like that's not sneaking up on anybody. The center situation is kind of a mess right now. Capella just not getting any minutes or not getting the minutes he used to get. So it's just the price is down, but the minutes have been down, and it's hard to just assume that's going to jump back up at any moment. Because Okongwu's been grabbing, 20 minutes or so. Well, what are your thoughts as far as the Pacers? And then feel free to jump on over to the Hawks.
So it's an interesting spot, depending on some injury news that we're still waiting on. If Brogdon sits, I really like Dwayne Johnson or Washington. I like The Rock. But yeah, I think he's going to be like a very low own value play. That's maybe a good little pivot off of some of these other guys. if Isaiah Jackson plays and starts, I think he's someone that can like be a huge difference maker on this slate. I mean, they're not playing Capella a ton of minutes on the other side. John Collins isn't like the best defender in the world. And I mean, on the Atlanta side, Trae Young, you can play every day, any day that you want. Collins and Capella and these guys, like Capella's minutes are just way all over the place. So I think if you're playing anybody from Atlanta, it's probably Trae Young. I think, like you were saying, he's coming out in optimals, and it makes a ton of sense. Great matchup against the terrible defensive Pacers. If this game stays remotely close, Trae Young could put up 60 plus fantasy points, but his floor is what? Probably 40 in this spot. And, it's a really high floor spot for Trae Young. It just really depends on if the game stays close or not.
If Brogdon doesn't go, I just think it's kind of the wrong slate to get excited about, Dwayne Washington or, Lance Stevenson and his guitar and the Kiefer Sykes and all that. Like if it was yesterday where I was begging for a 3K guy that can give me 21 points, do you think anybody rises out of that if Brogdon doesn't go, or it's all just kind of a mishmash?
Like I said, I think Washington, if Brogdon doesn't go, I think Washington plays 30 to 35 minutes at 4,100 in a matchup against Atlanta. So, I mean, he's shooting. Like, I think, 4 out of the last 5, he shot at least 13 times. So he's already shooting. So we don't have to really worry about the usage kind of thing for him. So low owned, pivot off of Blake Griffin, who's going to be chalk and he's absolutely terrible.
Different position, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, position doesn't matter tonight. There's value everywhere.
Isaiah Jackson's like a really, really good fantasy point minute player. 1.26 on DK, 1.34 on FanDuel, but who knows if he's playing? And if he is playing, who knows if he's starting? And who knows if he's starting? He's a full go as far as minutes. But, kind of sort of stay tuned on that, I suppose. We should have news on at least Brogdon by 7 o'clock. I don't know if we'll get the starting lineup. We should also get the news as far as Jackson as well. Stevie, what do you have as far? Not Stevie. Grant, Pacers. What do you have for me?
Pacers. I already talked about.
Oh, Hawks. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Trae. Mostly just Trae. I do like the under on DeAndre Hunter blocks of 0.5. I think it's at minus 130. Hasn't got a block in like 6 games, and it's sitting at minus 130. And
I'm like threes. I don't know him as a block guy.
He's not a block guy. I can't figure out the line. I'm like, you know what? I'm betting it. But yeah, it's really just Trae. Like this game has a possibility of being a blowout. I mean, 12-point spread. Trae is the guy that would most likely be blowing up if they do end up blowing them out. Capella hasn't been playing the 4th recently. I mean, Collins, maybe if you really wanted to, but it's not really great for him. Like I have no real interest in anyone outside of Trae.
You got anything else this game, Stevie, or shall I move on?
Moving on.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorite games in the slate. Let's talk about the Clippers and Memphis, Grant's favorite team, allegedly. Ever since they started getting good, at least. 226.5 is the total. Memphis is an 8-point.
Sir, I own $3,000 in Bain Top Shots. I am the biggest owner of Bain Top Shots.
Well, I mean, there's probably one. Maybe Bain's got his own Top Shots. Who knows? I know Josh Hart's a big Top Shot fan. He's got his own. But yeah, your Memphis Grizzlies are pretty healthy, with the exception of Dylan Brooks. As far as the Clippers, they did have Powell and Covington come off the bench last game. They are one of my least favorite teams for DFS. I do not get excited about
anyone on the Clippers.
Okay.
They are, for betting or DFS, they are just, you can't trust anyone. I'm out on them.
Yeah, I mean, I figure eventually, I don't know where they're going to land as far as their rotations, and maybe Powell and Covington, at least one of those guys, jumps in the starting lineup. And it's just fluid, and it's all bad, and nobody has consistent minutes. I'm trying to find our highest projected owned guy. It's Marcus Morris on DK for as far as Clippers at 1.5%, and on FanDuel, our biggest number is Marcus Morris at 1.2%. Yeah, so ownership reflects that. Stevie, are you in agreement with myself and Grant that the Clippers just kind of a mess tonight?
I kind of like Norman Powell. He only played 6 first half minutes the other night, ended up playing 18 second half minutes, had a 36% usage rate in his first game with the Clippers. They don't really have anybody else. If he could just kind of squeak out like a 30-minute game at less than 3% ownership, I mean, the price stinks. The price is the problem.
Oh, 7.5 and
yeah,
7.
he's 7.5 on FanDuel, 7K, and I think he's 26 on Yahoo.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like one of those things where if you really like a build and you end up in that range and you land on Powell, sure, why not take a shot? Like, it's I think him, RJ Barrett, Ayton, and like Bane, Brunson, all kind of right in that same range on DraftKings, and like no one's gonna play Powell. I mean, I like John Morant on the other side of this game a lot, just because no one's gonna play John Morant, and if this game were like if Powell has a big game and the game stays close, and we could get like a combo of Morant and Powell at low ownership, we get double overtime or something, with a really close game, like being very, very optimistic, but. I think if the game stays close, it's going to be Powell, and I think Morant's just going to have a big game if the game does stay close.
Yeah, you're going to get Morant like in single digits as far as ownership. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Everybody on Memphis in single digits actually on DK. You might get Bane in the teens, but otherwise, it's just kind of like basically the cross off. I get it for tournaments. Again, if you're running 150, you're max entering. Of course, you have at least a sprinkling of Morant. Grant, the great
Bane.
Desmond Bane's your guy?
Play Bane. I mean, the guy can put up 50. Like, I think he's cheaper over on FanDuel, but I'll play him on FanDuel. I'll play him on DraftKings. I'll play him on Yahoo. He's too cheap on Yahoo at $24. But like he's been shooting a lot recently. He's coming off 2 of his worst shooting outings of the year. He shot 25 and 22%. I think the only other game he did worse than that was going up against Golden State not too long ago. I don't even think he did that bad yet. 36% going up against Golden State. He's a guy that can put up a massive outing at any given time. If this game ends up staying close, then I think he could end up playing mid-30s minutes. He's a guy that can put up 25 shot attempts in any given spot here. If he gets hot, they're going to keep feeding him. He's a lower floor, but a very high ceiling guy, considering his price tag. We don't have him projected that great, but we don't have him projected terribly. I wrote him up, but I'm jaded because I love that guy. Absolutely
What's the
love
opposite of jaded? No, jaded's not the word. It's the opposite of jaded.
I am. What is the opposite of jaded? Someone in chat, tell me what the opposite
like
of jaded.
in lust. I don't know. You're.
No, what's the word?
You have a positive bias in his favor. I don't know. There's probably a quicker way of saying that.
No, there's a word.
Yeah. Well, if only we had a machine where we can type that in and figure it out.
What is the ant? Rested, unsatiable, insatiated. No. Bias. I'm biased.
Yeah, we just said that 12 seconds ago.
Yeah. But yeah, right. I'm playing Bane.
Do want to say hello once again to YouTube. Hey, hit that like button. We appreciate that. It helps us out with the old algorithm. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. All that stuff helps us. If you want to join the conversation, jump on over to the Discord channel that is free. Rotogrinders.com/Discord, a live stream chat channel right below Chiefs Prop Shop. And producer Steve is compiling all the questions that are thrown out there y'all have for us that we will tackle at the end of the show. If there's something we may have missed, something you want to double down on, something you want as far as elaboration, and give us all details possible if you're playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, single entry, tournaments, a large field, cash games, all that stuff makes it easier to answer those questions. Moving on, next question, next team on the docket. Well, there's 2 teams. They're playing against somebody else. It's Houston. It's New Orleans. New Orleans is going to be very popular in this slate. 225 is the total. The team total of 117. Big old number facing Houston. They're pretty terrible. 10-point favorites in this game, of course. As far as Houston, they're without Eric Gordon, Daniel Tice, John Wall, which is just kind of funny. Maybe he gets traded. I'm curious to see how that goes. New Orleans obviously traded Josh Hart, Satoransky. They're without Larry Nance is not ready to play just yet. Garrett Temple should be available. Hernan Gomez should not be available. Satoransky also was traded. And pulling up the old lineup HQ tool as far as the New Orleans side and as far as the popularity of these players. And yeah, we mentioned him earlier in the show here, Stevie. Brandon Ingram, 9.2K on DK. He's been good since coming back. We know this matchup is prime. He's drawing 36% ownership. Jackson Hayes has been kind of unleashed on late, playing, a fair bit of minutes, playing alongside another big. He's at 16%. Valanciunas at 12%. That's DK specific. As far as FanDuel, the ownership is even higher for Ingram, 63%. Good Lord. That's because he's 7-8 over there. That's just too cheap. But like, if he's really going to be 63%, that consider fading that, I think. And Jackson Hayes at 24, Valanciunas at 23. Stevie, your thoughts as far as the chalk Pelicans, especially Ingram on FanDuel at 63% ownership. That's a huge number.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Ingram's one of my favorite plays. I typed it in Discord. I really like his over fantasy point prop on Prize Picks. I mean, Jackson Hayes, I think, would be my second favorite from this team. Valanciunas is in a good spot. He's just so expensive. So I think Ingram, Hayes. If you're not playing Ingram, I think Valanciunas is interesting. If you want to kind of, I think there's some negative correlation between the two of them. Looking at some recent stuff, so I don't really want to play Herb Jones with so much value, and I really don't want to play Garrett Temple with so much value. So I think for me, looking at New Orleans, it's Ingram and it's Hayes.
I don't want to play Herb Jones either. I would just say like this is a good matchup, a good opponent for Herb Jones for his skill set. I would just say that, but yeah, he's also a kind of a low usage guy, and he gets there on stocks. But like, of course, Houston's a great stock opponent. What do you think here, Grant? And Grant, can I pay up? Can I have a Jonas Valanciunas and Ingram on the same team? Are you good with both those guys?
I'd rather, like, they have a little bit of negative correlation. If you're doing that, you almost always want to bring it back with probably Kevin Porter Jr. or Christian Wood over on the other side. Just hoping that this game ends up staying close. I mean, these are two bad teams, but realistically, this game could still end up being a blowout. I think Ingram is the preferred one, but obviously his ownership over on FanDuel makes him a tough play. But you know what? Like, you're probably better off eating it. I mean, he's put up 50 points, 60 points the last two games. One of these games was against Memphis. He's shooting the ball at a pretty heavy clip. He's getting a bunch of dimes, 12 in each of the last two. So like Ingram, Hayes, Valanciunas are all fine plays, but I'm probably just going to stick with Ingram. I'm only rolling out one lineup today, and I've got Ingram in it.
The interesting thing, by the way, as far as the run back, and you mentioned it, the best run back might be Şengün. They've unleashed Şengün alongside Wood. That's been the thing going forward now, it looks like. And wasn't that long ago, the coach came back and said, like, it doesn't work for us defensively, and we're just not going to do it. And like somebody
doesn't work for them tanking.
Yeah. Well, like also, like, what's the point? Like just so you lose by 5 instead of 3, or you lose by 20 instead of 15. Like, what's the difference? See what you have in the guy. Like, who cares? And there's also like rumors floating out there that Wood might be available as well. But yeah, develop what you have as far as Şengün, and Şengün was basically the direct backup for a while, but now they'll play alongside each other. And the key with Şengün is that he's a really, really strong fantasy point better player. 1.13 on DK, 1.15 on FanDuel. Of course, FanDuel, you can only roster one center, and KPJ has a good price on DK. I know Stevie mentioned him at 5.6. I like that as a run back, almost a full fantasy point better player. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Is there anybody else beyond that? It's basically one of those. I guess you can play Wood, who nobody's playing today, but I think Şengün and Porter are the best math plays, right, Grant? As far as Houston.
Yeah, they definitely
are. Stevie, what do you have?
Also, bet the over on KPJ over 2.5 rebounds
and over 6.5 assists.
Woo-hoo-hoo! I like it.
Who is he assisting, Stevie? Like, who's going to make a shot on the other end?
I don't know, but have you seen like his assist totals? Like it's insane how consistent he is. Like, I would think the same thing.
Yeah.
But like his assist totals are like very consistent, and I mean, it could be a couple different reasons, but we don't have that much time. But I mean, yeah, I like his assist prop as well, as his rebound prop, and like. I don't love his point prop because he's been assisting so much. But yeah, like we were talking about it last night on the morning grind. I think it's like 7 or 8 games out of the last 9. Like there's only been one game he's gone under 7. So Christian Wood ends up in Charlotte, by the way. I think that's where he's going to end up.
Interesting. I haven't been digging in this stuff. Is that something that's floated out there? That's your own thoughts?
No, I just have a weird like gut feeling. Like Charlotte really needs a big man, and I just feel like he would really fit in that offense.
Who do you think's going back the ROA? Have you thought that one through?
No, I think it's going to be kind of a dump. Maybe like a pips kind of dump. Maybe some salary dump for Christian Wood. Maybe, I don't know. It's tough to say. But I do think
I like
Christian
the thought.
Wood,
it's an interesting thought.
Maybe like Cody Zeller or something like that.
That sounds like a salary dump.
Or Mason Plumlee, not Mason Plumlee, not Cody Zeller.
Yeah. Zeller, I think it's in Portland.
Plumlee and like a picks for Wood. And like Houston kind of just, try to rebuild. I don't know. I just think it's just like one
They're
of those
just trying to
weird,
get
like,
stuff.
gut feelings. Yeah, one of those
Yeah.
weird gut feelings.
They just signed Wood, didn't they? Just sign him to like a 4 or 5 year deal or something like that. Like
I think
last
he's
year?
locked in for a little while.
We got anything else in this game that's worth noting? Like Devontae Graham, I think is fine. We didn't really mention his name, but I think he's okay. 5.2K is a pretty reasonable price on DK. I don't hate that. 5.4 on FanDuel's fine. I think the 5.2 on DK is pretty good. Not seeking it out, but if I land on that, I probably don't blow the lineup up. I think I'm okay with it. Anything else here, Stevie, Grant, or shall I move on?
Move
on.
Detroit, Dallas. Mavericks are 12-point favorites here against the Pistons. 212 is the total. As far as Detroit, we don't know about Cunningham. He's got that hip, so he's questionable. Dallas, of course, they're without Porzingis and THJ, probably for the season, THJ. Sterling Brown is questionable. Maxi Kleber should be available. He is probable. Well, Grant, are the Clippers basically the Pistons? Did you have anybody in the Pistons you want to talk about? Do you want to get excited about? Maybe if Cunningham doesn't play, one of like Bay or Grant or Jackson Rise or Diallo starts, he can be interesting, but it's a bad matchup here against Dallas. Potential blowout.
Yeah.
They're going to play their 10 guys, and I don't like anybody in Detroit as we stand right now.
I'm full on out, especially if Cade ends up playing, I'm for sure full on out. If he doesn't, then you can take a shot on Jeremy Grant, but probably not a great idea. This is not an easy matchup. Dallas is a slow-paced team, pretty decent defensively. Like, could be a blowout here. There's no reason to really play any Detroit guys on this big of a
Can
slate.
we just say this game how it is? Play Luka and fade the rest of the game because the rest of the game stinks.
Move on to the next game.
Well, let's just expand on Luka because shout out to the means he was digging in as far as Luka of late. Luka with Porzingis gone, and not just Porzingis, but THJ, kind of a usage guy. And I think it was just the last 5 or 6 games, like 1.7 fantasy points per minute. That's completely insane. He's always got a shot at getting that triple dub as well. Triple double bonus there on DK. I know he's pricey on DK at 12.2K. FanDuel a better price at 11.2. Ownership is reflecting at 36% on FanDuel, 12.2K on DK, but still 33% we're seeing. Fully justified. Brunson's been great too. I think he's more of a play on FanDuel than he is on DK because Brunson's price on FanDuel, I want to say, isn't it in the 5s? I think it's still in the 5s, right? Yeah, 5.8 is pretty appealing. DFS is not a fun roster, but we all know what he is. He's going to play 35 minutes and maybe he hits a couple threes, maybe he steals the ball a few times, and he can kind of quote get there, but he's never, well, I hate speaking in definitives. Rarely is he somebody who just breaks the slate and somebody you have to have. So Stevie, you're making one lineup theoretically. Is Luka one of your favorite big spends? It sounds like it.
He's one of my favorites, but as we've been going, I've made a lineup and he's not in it. So I like Giannis more. We're gonna get to that when we get to that game. If I'm just comparing pricing, I could play one of the 12K guys and then get like a 9 or 8K guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I think Luka is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I just like Giannis more.
Grant, anything to expand there as far? Is Luka like you're making one lineup? Is Luka in that lineup?
Luka's in my lineup.
Okay.
Yeah, Luka's in my lineup.
You're okay eating that chalk because it's delicious chalk.
I will say that I took his assist prop and his point rebound and assist prop over on Prize Picks.
And I took his over on points on DK, I think.
There you go.
Hey, if you're
his assist is it's like 9.5. I really like the over on 9.5 assists for Luka.
What's the number for a triple double? What do you have, Grant? Are you in the books right now? What's the triple double number on him tonight? 3-1. Just throwing out. Is that about what it is? Curious.
2-1.
2-1. And I know you said
plus 185 for the yes, minus 260 for the no.
You like that, or is that not a lot of value in it?
No, I think you can actually get better on others. I'm guessing it's over 2 plus 220 would be my guess over on FanDuel. I'll check for in a second. Oh, let's see.
And you showed me that trick one time you were talking about. I don't know if it's a trick, but you were saying if you could just parlay over 10 plus points, 10 plus, there's a different way of doing that. You can structure your own way.
So over on FanDuel, little advice for you. Almost never take those, especially when it's pretty cut and dry how they're going to do it. Like if Luka's getting a triple double, he's I would just bet the rebounds and assists because he's getting 10 points if he gets the other two. So if you parlay 10 plus points plus 10 plus assists, then you can get it plus 192 over on FanDuel as opposed to plus 176. And that's not even including the points.
Yeah. And like, in what world is he getting like 12 assists and 12 rebounds and like 7 points? Like, that's so, I suppose that's possible, but highly.
I mean, you
highly
can't
likely.
bet 10 plus points. It's literally locked.
Yeah.
Like it's worse than minus 10,000.
You're basically betting on like an ejection or an injury or whatever. He yaps a lot. He does complain a lot. I will say that.
Yeah,
but,
you can bet the alt over of 19.5 points and get it up to 250 or 212. But yeah, just bet the over 10 points and 10 assists at minus or plus 196, or you get his assist prop is all the way up to 10.5. You can parlay those together for plus 279, get that extra assist on there.
The Knicks are in Denver. 220 is the total. Knicks are 10-point dogs. This feels like a scheduled loss. It's a back-to-back on the road, and the worst place to go on the road, or either it is the worst or they just came from the worst. That trip, Utah and Denver. Utah's
Denver, the worst.
Yeah, one's the worst, one's the second worst, but yeah. And then they have Golden State on Thursday, so it's a back-to-back travel, and on third in the midst of a 3rd and 4 nights. Man, it feels like a scheduled loss for New York, from what I'm seeing here. Mitch Robb, they ruled him out. Grimes is not going to play. Nerlens Noel is not going to play. Kemba should be available as far as Denver. Austin Rivers may or may not play. It's an interesting slate here, Stevie. Like, nobody's playing Jokic. They're going to get him at like less than 10%. I don't, buddy, whatever. You know what I mean? Relatively speaking. And nobody's playing anybody else on Denver. It's Jokic or bust. And as far as New York, I don't think people are playing guys in the Knicks either, because they're a disaster. And this is a rough spot.
Jokic is easily someone that could go for 70 plus. If you're running out 150 lineups, or if you're playing like a 3-inch max and you want to build a lineup that's just going to be different, that's where I think you look at Jokic. Again, I like Giannis more. I like Luka more than I like Jokic. But I mean, in tournaments, man, anything can happen. My problem with Jokic is like, I don't really love anybody on the Knicks to run it back because of the Knicks pricing. Like Julius Randle, monster game the other night against the Lakers in LA. Shocked. I'm so shocked. Like, just overall, I think the pricing on the Knicks is right where it should be. Nothing's really standing out to me for the Knicks. And I mean, like I said, you could potentially take shots on Jokic, but yeah, just this game, this is a make up some time game because this game stinks too.
I mean, Jokic is an awesome tournament play just because he is who he is. And like, what we're looking at 7-8% ownership on DK, 14-15% on FanDuel, where obviously the salary is a little bit looser. Beyond that, nobody landing on Denver. We're looking at Aaron Gordon at 3%, nothing else on DK, and nobody above 1% on FanDuel. I think Randall's got a pretty good price on Yahoo for what it's worth, if you guys are playing on Yahoo tonight. But and you could always play Randall, I suppose. There's also he's another guy out there that has trade rumors, speculation. Who knows? The Knicks have been a disappointment this year. Grant, what can you add? Like, Jokic is great. By the way, how come you're not a Denver fan? You're not that far from you don't. They got Jokic.
I do
root
there for Denver. I've still never been. I'm going to DK sending me to their suite.
Go to a game.
In a few weeks. Yeah, I'm going to. Like, I don't know how I haven't gotten more. Like, I talked to my DK rep, and they're going to get me in there for a few games the rest of the year.
Nice. Maybe I'll fly out. We can go to a game together, Grant. How about that? Excited. Now you really want to go if you get to go with me.
Yeah, you're going to stay sober? You can drive us.
Hopefully you don't get a flat tire.
Well, yeah.
It never ends. I love it.
Grant, Stevie has shamed me for years that I do not know how to change a flat tire. Is that something
You don't know how to change a flat tire? How inept of a human are you?
Are you serious? You think like everyone knows how to change a flat tire?
Yes.
No. What percent of the population knows how to change a flat tire? Like anybody above like 12 or whatever. I don't know what the average age. Like, if you're zero, it's not expected.
I would say 80% of the men I know how to change.
Don't make it a sex thing. Don't make it a masculine thing.
I don't. I don't want
80% of the women I know can change a tire.
I have called a woman before to help me change a flat tire in my life.
It will never get old. I will say that. I will never live it down, and it'll never get old. I've always told you.
Yeah, how do you not
come up to Daytona and I'll teach you how to change a tire? We'll go get some tacos. Nope.
I mean, how do you tacos, not know? I'm interested.
You can literally YouTube makes things so. I did have trouble last time I got a flat tire.
Okay.
Well, no, it was about like it was a weird jack. Like I know how to change a tire, but all these jacks are just so weird. Like trying to get it open, apparently Jeep has a weird jack.
So we have time to derail the show because when I was traveling, I think when I was traveling to
Vegas, tried to speed the show up because of this New York Denver game, and then we went sideways. And I really want to talk about these last 3 games, and we only have 15 minutes. So just throwing it out there.
No. The new show is we started 4:45, and we
end at 16.
No.
We end between 6 and 6:10.
No, we end at 16.
Well,
he wants to get out of here. On to the next game.
Stevie's gonna walk up the show at 6. But
I'm hungry. I gotta go make some dinner.
Well,
you should get Wingstop has their bundle is like 16 boneless wings, 6 chicken tenders, fries, and 3 dipping sauces for $25.
I had wings for lunch.
I
had wings for lunch and breakfast and dinner last night.
I'm having lobster ravioli for dinner. I gotta go make it.
Oh, love lobster.
Let's get it going. Ravioli.
You're telling me how unmasculine I am, and you're getting chicken wings boneless, which are are they even chicken?
It's part of the deal. Chicken nuggets are delicious.
Listen, yeah, chicken. You can't even boneless chicken wings are where it's at. It's so much easier to eat.
That's an oxymoron.
You don't have a Dean. You don't have a beard.
You don't have a beard. You just don't understand.
But boneless chicken wings are like
you gotta wash your beard. You gotta wash your beard like right when you get done. Like with bone wings. Oh,
I have to shower. I plan on showering every single time I eat wings or ribs. It's just a requirement. That's why sometimes I eat wings and ribs for breakfast because I know I'm going to shower afterwards.
You do what now? You eat ribs and wings for breakfast.
Sometimes.
Now, boneless wings, or because those aren't wings. I hate to say
No, those can be for dinner because I can use a fork and I can keep it out of my beard. But bone in, like anything with a bone, I'm probably eating for breakfast most of the time because guess what? I have to shower afterwards.
What's the most random thing you found in your beard? I know it's a loaded question.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm sweet and sauce from the night before when I passed out eating McDonald's chicken nuggets.
Like you just start licking your like, whoa, what's that?
I'm like, why is my beard crusty? It feels like there's gel in here.
Oh, it's the worst. Lick it, of course. When that happens, it's the worst.
Man, I am jealous. So let it be known that I cannot grow what you guys have. So, yeah.
You grow a sweet neck strap.
I can't grow any of it. It's so disgusting. Like it just comes out patchy and like orange. It's disturbing. You don't want to see it. But yeah,
corn's another one that's really tough when you have a beard.
Oh, get the Wingstop Cajun corn because they cut it into little things, so it's like this thick.
I don't even know if I have a Wingstop around me. Now I gotta look.
Weren't they in cahoots with Pizza Hut, or is that the same company?
No, that's Wing Street, is what you're thinking. Pizza Hut is Wing Street Wings.
Oh, okay.
I just got a text from Pizza Hut.
Is it
about wings?
Are they better? I'm not. I mean, why? Are you
for Valentine's Day, I can get a heart-shaped pizza. Hooray!
I mean, I'm sure your fiance will be bowled over with
a. She was super happy when we got Pizza Hut and we were hungover on Sunday. She was ecstatic.
Yeah, the qualifier was she was hungover, and therefore, like that's the perfect hangover food in theory. But
Pizza Hut has the best marinara. On to the next game.
This is why we haven't.
You can't go wrong with stuffed crust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
stuffed crust and their cheese sticks are why I order from there. If they didn't have that, then I'd probably just order pizza somewhere else and then stop by Pizza Hut for the marinara.
Well, the stuffed crust is kind of a cheat code, though. Like because most mom and pops just don't have that, so it's hard to compete in that.
Yeah.
That's what you're.
How do they not have that? They're so stupid.
No Wingstop for me.
Because the stuffed crust is probably frozen, Grant. Like it's a trickier to make. I imagine you can't really prep that. Mom and pop.
You roll a cheese stick inside the crust. It's not that hard.
It's a little. They have other things to do. They're making garlic bread. They're doing other stuff.
Charge extra. I would pay $5 extra for stuffed crust.
The Milwaukee Bucks are at the Lakers tonight. 233.5 is the total. As far as who is in and who is out, Milwaukee fully healthy with the exception of George Hill. We are expecting the Lakers to be fine. Davis and LeBron are both questionable. Carmelo is out with his hamstring, and Dwight Howard, for what it's worth, is questionable with his back. Steve, you kind of referenced Giannis being one of your favorite plays in the slate. He's not necessarily garnishing massive ownership. It's going to be there, but nothing crazy. Big slate, obviously. Tell me why you like Giannis, and talk about the rest of the Bucks, or is that just it? It's Giannis or nobody else?
I like Bobby Portis too. I could see Bobby Portis having a good game here. His price kind of stinks, but yeah, I mean, it's a TV game. It's against the Lakers. Giannis scored, I think, 47, 42. I just wrote it up in expert survey this morning. I still can't remember. The last time these two teams played, he's like one of the guys that like can consistently put up 70 plus fantasy points in close games. He just hasn't been in close games. And I think with LeBron, with AD playing, this game stays competitive. I think it stays even more competitive if Westbrook gets traded before the game, but that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, I love Giannis in this spot. I changed his like fantasy projection a little bit to try to get more exposure to him. When I was messing around building a lineup. So I mean, he's a staple for me today. He's a staple for me on points, rebound, assist props. He's a staple for me in DFS. Like, he's my favorite play on the slate.
Back half of the TNT doubleheader. Man, TNT's got some rough games tonight. At least on paper, this Milwaukee Lakers
game could be great.
Lakers,
yeah.
They have
it
last
should be
year's
fun.
champ and the champ from the year before.
Yeah, this game is great with AD and LeBron healthy. Like, this is a great game.
I don't know if you guys heard, but the Lakers are kind of terrible. Yeah, Giannis.
Lakers have been injured all season long, and they're still sitting at 500. Like, they've had more stars injured than anyone but the Nets.
Aren't they just built for like a playoff run? They're not really built for a regular season run. Like, they have AD, can't stay healthy.
Oh man, I don't want to get on another tangent, but Jesus.
I mean, we've already moved the show to 6:10 now, so just do whatever we want.
They're the 9th seed in the West. They're 26 and 28, and you're trying to say it's been a good season, Grant. That's outrageous.
I didn't say. Don't put words in my mouth. I
on.
said they've been more injured than any other team.
That's not true. The Clippers, and they're not the most injured team in their own city. Clippers have been more injured with more stars.
Okay, they no. Only one of their stars got injured this season.
What? Kawhi and Paul George? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Kawhi
Kawhi got
already
injured
out
last season.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of town. No technicalities. Don't get all technical on me. Yeah. So
Dean, do you think they're going to make the Western Conference Championship? That's my question to you.
I don't think they will. They might.
I don't think they will either.
But I don't think they will.
Grizzlies and Warriors.
I got to get some jelly beans going. All right, keep going.
Milwaukee's winning the whole thing, by the way. Just so y'all know, it's going to be the Bucks this year.
No, it's
They're
going
not
to be
make it to the
Cleveland.
finals.
It's Cleveland versus the Grizzlies.
Oh, Cleveland.
In 2024, maybe.
If Cleveland wins the championship, I'm going to be so mad. I just want you both to know that. Like, I'm going to be so mad.
If Cleveland wins, maybe I'll fly you out to Vegas with me, and we can celebrate my win.
You're going to fly me out, or just Stevie?
No,
we don't. Yeah, Dean.
Oh.
Don't overextend your invitation.
All right, I'm going to power through and not feel embarrassed or insulted. Yeah, so Giannis on FanDuel is 17%. We're looking at Portis at like 12% beyond that, like Middleton and Drew Holiday. When all three are playing, I basically never play those guys, and they're fully priced, and it's just not going to happen. Like, if they get there, whatever, I lose. On DK, it's pretty clear too. Like, Giannis is the top guy. Milwaukee at 12%. Middleton at 8%, but again, it's fine. But when has Middleton really separated himself when everybody else is playing? Rarely. LeBron's got a pretty good price, on both FanDuel and on DK, and big three as far as Lakers. Who knows how much Westbrook's even going to play? Coach called him out basically for sucking, more or less, in so many words. I'm paraphrasing, just basically saying he's got to play better. 10-5 LeBron happens to be on FanDuel. On DK, LeBron is also 10-5. Yeah, if you guys want any secondary pieces, by all means, discuss them. But I think it's LeBron and Davis.
Dean, on to the next game. You can play Portis, you can play Giannis, you can play LeBron. On to the next game.
All right. Where do you have to go? Why are you so angry and agitated?
I want to get Stevie his dinner.
Well, I'm sorry that Stevie didn't plan dinner around the showtime.
Actually, I did before I got the message that we moved the showtimes.
Okay, fair enough.
Thanks, Dean.
Well,
I'm prepared, Dean.
Minnesota versus Sacramento. 232 is the total in this game. Big old number, obviously. Sacramento is a 7-point dog tonight because, well, they traded away Buddy Hield. They traded away Tyrese Halliburton. Not sure if you guys heard. De'Aaron Fox is questionable. The Zanko Bagley questionable as well. Fox has been questionable for the last, 10 games or something like that, it seems like. It feels like there's a decent chance he comes back tonight. I believe he did practice as well. But Davion Mitchell should get a bunch of run here for the Kings. I'll throw it to you, Grant. What are your thoughts as far as Sacramento? Feel free to jump over to Minnesota if you'd like. It's just garnering very little ownership for what it's worth.
Davion Mitchell is one of the best plays on the entire slate. Harrison Barnes is a pretty solid play. Outside of that, not really anyone I want to play. If you want to take a shot on Fox, if he ends up playing, it's fine. I wouldn't do it. On the Minnesota side of things, Cat, solid tournament pivot off of guys like Jokic and Embiid, Luka, not a terrible idea going up against Sacramento. Game's not terrible at a 6.5 or 6.75 point. I can't remember what it is. Whatever the spread is. Not terrible. So if this game stays close, Cat can end up with a pretty massive outage going up against Sacramento. Anthony Edwards, you can take a shot on if you really want to. Again, good matchup going up against Sacramento. Without Halliburton now, I'm worried about it staying close. So I'm probably avoiding the Minnesota side of things and mostly just playing Davion Mitchell, who's just far too cheap on the slate.
You know what's wild? 10-game slate. We've gotten no news breaks at all since the show.
Because they all came earlier in the day.
Yeah, but even still, stuff kind of sprinkles on through. But that's kind of wild.
You jinxed it. Now it's going to get.
No, I don't have that ability. Jinxes aren't real, and I don't have that power. It's just
you do have that power. No one on earth has that power like you.
And Minnesota, it's just kind of. I guess their big three is available. Therefore, their ceilings in theory are capped a little bit, but nobody's really playing Cat. 7% maybe Cat, something like that. Pat Bev drawing a little bit of ownership. Russell, in the teens. No, not the teens. At 3% currently right now on DK. On FanDuel, we're looking at 8%, for Russell, 11 for Edwards. Stevie, in theory, it's a good spot for Minnesota, but if they're all playing and they're fully healthy, yeah, it's hard to get excited. The same old story. If you're running 150, of course you can sprinkle one in if you want to have a run back as far as Sacramento, you're playing Mitchell. But yeah, your thoughts as far as the Kings and the T-Wolves.
I like Mitchell a lot. I just had finished writing him up this morning as a contrarian play, and all the news dropped, so probably why I'm a little bitter. But yeah, I love Mitchell. I think he's someone that you definitely want to try to fit in to some lineups today. Him and Barnes, I don't know if Fox plays. I'm assuming Fox doesn't play. So I think Barnes and Mitchell, and maybe even taking a shot on Metu. And Mo Harkless. I almost forgot about Mo Harkless. What is going on with Mo Harkless? This dude is a blast from the past right now. Just getting usage, getting shots up, absolutely crushing. He's 4K on DraftKings. He's 6,000 on FanDuel. He's $15 over there on Yahoo. So I like Mo Harkless a lot. My problem with Sacramento is it's really hard to find run back options for game stacks. Cat, I just don't think he ranks with some of these other studs on the slate. And then Edwards' price is kind of stinky. But if Russell sits, I definitely don't mind taking some tournament shots on Edwards.
I mean, Harkless had an outlier rebounding game and an outlier stock game. That's kind of one of the reasons why he got there. And he's shooting efficiently, I guess. And he's taken more shots of late than he has in a while. Of course, opportunity's been there as well.
I mean, the minutes are going to be there tonight, though.
What are we projecting for his minutes tonight? 26 is our projection.
I'll take the over on that.
Might be a little bit low. Yeah. You said you like Mitchell, Grant. Did you like a second guy on Sacramento, or is he just your favorite and that's basically it? Harry Barnes should play 35 minutes. What?
It's probably Harry Barnes. I already said that, but you don't pay attention to me.
Yeah. Well, one time I wasn't listening. I'm multitasking. I was taking a peek at the chat.
You're bad at read the chat, dude. You probably don't want to read the chat.
What's going on in the chat? Am I getting hammered in there?
No, you just pay attention to the show. It's okay.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Keep going.
All right, 3 games at 10 o'clock. The third game at 10 o'clock is Stevie's Orlando Magic in Portland. Portland has nobody. They're still favored by 1 over against the Stevie's Magic. Obviously they're going to be down to, looks like 9 guys tonight in Portland because they traded away Snell. A Little, of course, is hurt. There's no Zeller who's hurt. Bledsoe, McCollum not available. Watford should be good to go. we're projecting Simons, McLemore, Ellaby, Winslow, and Nurkic to start with Watford, DSJ, Brown, and Blevins on the bench. That may change. I wouldn't be shocked if DSJ gets to start. Who knows? Those guys are all crazy, crazy cheap. I'll throw it to you, Grant, because we should have some value plays on the Portland side.
Yeah, I think I have 3 Portland players in my main lineup. I'm guessing you can guess who they are.
The 3 Portland players in your main lineup. What site you're playing on, or does that even matter?
DK.
Simons, Winslow, and DSJ.
Yep, all of them way too cheap. I mean, Simon's going to get a ton of usage here. He's going to be chucking. He's far too cheap at 7K. Winslow with 30 minutes, too cheap at 3K. DSJ far too cheap at 3.1K, especially if he ends up getting the start. And then outside that, you can play Nurk if you really want to. I mean, obviously he offers a little bit of value. You should see an increase in usage. We've seen what he's done without McCollum and without Lillard on the floor. He's too cheap at 8.6K. CJ at 3.4K. The new CJ in Portland. 3.4K, too cheap. I think I bet the over on his assists of 1.5. Pretty solid there at minus 120. McLemore, if you want to play him, he's pretty solid in the spot here. I think he's cheaper over on DK than he is on FanDuel. I could be wrong there. But yeah, like you can play virtually anyone who's playing a boatload of minutes here in Portland. But my favorite is probably Simons, followed by Winslow, followed by DSJ.
Stevie, power rank them. Power rank your Blazers for me, because again, there should be some value. And even if DSJ doesn't start, I think he's still pretty much. I think he's very much in play. I'm gonna run the court IQ, and I'm gonna kick Lillard and McCollum off the court, and I imagine Nurkic is gonna get a bump as well. Of course, being center, a little bit trickier to pay up for him, and he's more expensive than some of the other guys. But Stevie, as far as the Portland side, who are your favorites when you consider all the factors?
I think I'd rank them Winslow, DSJ, McLemore. I think Simons is a fantastic play. He's 7K. When you're looking at the other 3 guys, they're just so cheap. So I mean, I don't hate Simons here. It's more of like he's 7K and just I don't know. I'm just struggling with the price on him, and I know what the usage is. He had one of the biggest like downgrades when I was like messing around with court IQ and taking like Lillard and McCollum off the floor. Like his usage and stuff actually went down. I think he was like 0.71 fantasy points per minute.
You're talking about Simons?
Yeah.
I got it right in front of me. Well, I only kicked off what it's worth Lillard and McCollum. I didn't kick off Nance. Just Lillard and
I
McCollum.
kicked everyone off. I did it on Expert Survey, and like it because it shocked me a little bit. Pulling it up, but like when you take Snell, Lillard, McCollum, Nance, Little, Powell off the floor, Simons is averaging 0.73 fantasy points per minute.
What do you know how many minutes that is?
I think it was like 70 something, 60 something. It's still a small sample size. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to see just the two big ones out. And he played 400 minutes, and his usage.
And like for tournaments, I really like maybe playing Powell over Simons and just rolling the dice. Because I play a lot of single entry stuff, and like Simon's going to be really popular. So I just like the idea of maybe playing like 3 Portland guys and not playing Simons, and then running it back with like a Wendell Carter Jr. Or something along those lines. I really like Wendell Carter Jr. tonight because, I mean, he's not going to see Nurk. Like Mo Bamba's going to see Nurkic a lot, and like I think Wendell Carter Jr. could have a big game here.
You said play Powell, and it just threw me off. I'm like, well, wait, you're thinking, yeah, I'm thinking
they're the same price. That's why.
Yeah, no, I was thinking because I was thinking the Blazers. I'm like, oh yeah, he's not a Blazer anymore, and like, yeah, I'm trying to keep up. just sort of threw me off. Like, yeah,
I got you, Dean.
So Grant, the Magic, yeah, I think Carter's fine. Better play on DK.
I like Carter
for salaries.
I like Carter. Like on DK, I like Carter. I mean, the last 3 games where the game has actually stayed close and he's been above 30 minutes, 48, 42, 37 points. I think it's a solid matchup going against Portland. I think he should play a full 11 minutes. The spread's sitting at 1. I actually like Wendell Carter Jr., and he's the only guy I like over on the Magic.
I got a bunch of questions we have compiled here from chat. Just going to kind of bounce back and forth. This is a good sort of overarching question. I'll throw this one to you, Grant. Well, we just kind of did it as far as Portland. Flores Mark wants to know, like, power rank the Sacramento, Portland, and New Orleans values. So if you can kind of run back to Sacramento, we just kind of talked about it, but I think you were pretty clearly in favor of Mitchell amongst everybody else.
Yeah. It's Simons, then Mitchell, then Winslow, then BI, then DSJ from those 3 games.
Okay, so you put them all in one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. Stevie, bang the drum in. Anyone playing Cade tonight at 6.9 on FanDuel? I don't think so. We're not sure if he's playing. And if he does play, I don't think people are going to play him. But yeah, have you thought about Cunningham tonight?
No. Huge fan. Like Cade Cunningham a lot. I think he has a bright future. Not tonight,
Agreed.
though. I don't like this spot.
More questions here from our chats. Jackson Hayes. What do you have for me, Grant, as far as Jackson Hayes? The Pelicans are going to be popular. And if he's not one of the more popular Pelicans, like we've certainly seen games where he breaks the slate and this Houston.
I mean, he's projected for 16%. He's the second most popular projected Pelicans player. So he's fine. He's been doing really well recently. He has upside. There's a lot of other guys in that salary, or not a ton of other guys in that salary range, but a decent one that are going to draw some ownership. He's fine. I don't love him. I don't hate him.
Yeah, I think I like him a little more than you do, but I don't feel like I have to have him. It's kind of like my thought process. And maybe, do you cap Pelicans, Grant? Would you have like no more than 2? Could you possibly play 3?
I have 1 in my lineup, but if you're going to do that, again, bring it. If you play multiple Pelicans, bring it back with either Wood or KPJ or Sengun.
Stevie, you got anything as far as Hayes you want to bring to the conversation?
I think he's fine. I like Brandon Ingram a lot.
All right, Stevie, I'm just going to go ahead and read this. This is kind of like a sentence or two. Questions or conversations from chat. Seems like the stars are aligned for LeBron. Lakers are at home. Everyone in town for the Super Bowl. Yeah, probably. Are you getting to LeBron tonight? DK Noto mentioned in the grind down that LeBron is the most appealing of the 3, but I much prefer to spend up on Luka. Would you play LeBron over Luka? Yeah, I agree. Luka's a better player than LeBron, but I also think you could play LeBron, and he's also cheaper too. So both of them are in the pool for me, Stevie. How do you feel about LeBron? And you talk about liking Giannis too. You can certainly go play Giannis and run back LeBron on the other side.
I think with all the value, that's a really fun stack today. Running Giannis and running LeBron. I think LeBron has triple-double upside in this matchup. I think his ceiling is higher than Anthony Davis. And the thing about like Luka is that game could get ugly. It's Detroit. They stink. He's 12-2. LeBron's 10-5. You get a $1,700 discount, which could give you a third stud. So, yeah, I mean, I like LeBron.
I feel like they tend to leave Luka out a little bit longer in blowouts than they probably should. They don't play tomorrow. They didn't play yesterday, but you're right. That's a reasonable point. Maybe, if it gets ugly, they pull him out at like the 3-minute mark or the 5-minute mark or something like that. Let's see. As far as the cheapies, I'll ask you this one, Grant. Well, actually, here's a question for you specifically. They want to know, Grant, DK tournaments, do you like Horford or Williams? I assume that's the Time Lord, Robert Williams. I'm Boston.
I'm not playing either of them. I'd probably lean more towards Williams, but I'm not a big fan of either.
And also Williams games just translates better to FanDuel scoring. But I mean, yeah, I'm probably not getting there either. They're not terrible, but it's probably not happening for me. Stevie, as far as DK GPP value, thoughts on CJ Ellaby? Where does he rank for you amongst the cheapies tonight? Is Ellaby on the podium for you? We're assuming he's going to draw the start for Portland tonight. Pretty thin, obviously. The Blazers. Do you like Ellaby as a cheapie?
I think he's 4th in just the Portland value alone for me. I think I'd rank DSJ, Winslow, and Ben McLemore ahead of Ellaby tonight. McLemore is just, we know what we're getting from Ben McLemore. He's going to go out and shoot 15 times in this game. So I would rank him ahead of Ellaby. I don't think Ellaby is a bad play. It's just, do we really know what we're getting? We're getting like a 10 to 12% typically usage guy. And I mean, Ben McLemore has been around forever. We know what he's going to do. He's going to chuck.
Yeah, we don't know if he's going to make it or not. I'm still bitter.
He's still going to chuck.
Yeah, I had him on a lineup the other night, and like he put up, I think, a 1. I got 1 point out of him, and it was such a good lineup besides McLemore. Yeah, Ellaby on the season, and of course the usage stuff is, I don't know how useful it is because, he's a lot different players are playing side for Portland. 14% of the season, 0.79 fantasy points per minute. Do you have a thought on that, Grant? By all means, to add it as far as Ellaby. Otherwise, answer me this: DK tournaments, LeBron or Anthony Davis?
LeBron.
Yeah. Is Bane finally too expensive for DK for Grant on DraftKings?
No.
Stevie, you're
no,
playing.
He's going for 50 tonight. Brogdon ruled out.
Yeah, we kind of expected.
Isaiah Jackson ruled out.
We kind of expected that one too. But do we still think there's anybody that is? I don't think anybody rises.
Dean, we're going over on time. We got 25 extra minutes, and we're still going over on time.
We're not going over on time.
Yes, we are officially over on time.
Did Washington do I have to show you the email? What time do you have over there in Denver?
6:10. It's 6:10. We are officially past.
Oh my gosh. When did I have a few more questions? Do you mind sticking around? Do I have to show you the email? The time was still 6:15.
You have
just read the questions quickly as possible.
You officially got me rattled.
Just read the questions. I'll answer all of them.
Grant, we'll high five later, Grant.
Question number one, you had to tell time.
Yes.
Okay. Question number two, when did Reggie Bullock get good? How did I miss that? Don't play
Reggie Bullock.
Why does AD project poorly tonight? Would you play him?
Because LeBron's in there. No, I would not play him.
What about this Greg Brown guy on FanDuel, Stone Minimum? He's a flyer.
He's a flyer, but there's other guys you can play there better.
Speaking of flyers, any interest in Duke on Brooklyn? Played pretty well last time Harden was out.
No, there was so many people out.
Everyone was out.
Don't get angry at me. I'm just reading the question.
No, I know. I saw that question. Someone asked, he put up 40 fantasy points 2 months ago against Orlando Magic. I remember that game. The whole team was out that night. That's
I'm
just
Ron Burgundy. I'll read whatever you put in front of me. There's a narrative for Embiid versus Ayton. He said in 2018 not to compare Ayton to him because he plays D. FanDuel points versus Ayton, 62.
I have the over on Embiid points and I have the under on Ayton points. So that'll tell you something.
Yeah. He's done well against them for what it's worth. That's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. You said that 4 years ago, Embiid says a lot of things. And I like some narratives, whatever. You could play that. He's still a good play.
Dean, just read the questions.
Oh my God.
Dean is so rattled right now.
Well, because what's Grant doing for the next 2 minutes?
Dean, read the questions. We have the producer has to set up for the next show.
The producer said the show is till 6:15, possibly.
6:10. 6:10.
I'm dying.
Ends at 6:10. Very specifically says ends at 6:10.
Your boneless chicken wings are going to get a little bit colder. It's going to be okay. DK high stakes Grant. 200 entrants. 200 favorite value, favorite studs. Where do you think ownership funnels? I will just say this, on single entry stuff, ownership condenses and the chalk gets chalkier. But play 200 Bane. Entrants, you have a favorite value play, favorite stud.
Favorite mid-tier play, Bane. Favorite value play, Winslow. Favorite stud, Luka.
All right. We will end early at 6:13. Stevie, you have anything for the road for the people?
I just went back and looked at the message. It said 6:10.
Yeah.
So you are late. I'm very proud of me and Grant for sticking around longer, giving the people what they need. So yeah, Grant, always great. Dean, it's always so much fun to hang out and talk everything and then something else. But yeah, the slate, all joking aside, stars and scrubs, there's a lot of great value, and a lot of the value players are going to play a bunch of minutes. So it's just going to kind of come down to that.
Well, I just pulled up a message from one of the producers that said, would you be with 90 minutes? Is that workable for you? Basically 90 minutes from 45 after.
And it very distinctly says until 6:10.
It does. It really does. It says between 6 and 6:10.
We will figure this out. Oh man. Give me a final thought before we step aside and make way for
Bane goes for 50.
All right. That was Grant. That was producer Steve. Appreciate y'all watching. That was Stevie as well. Appreciate y'all watching. Do hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, turn on the notifications. You can watch us tilt and going forward again, 4:45 on the East Coast till 6:10. Sure, that's the time. That works for me. That works for everybody else. All right. That was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Good luck tonight. Holler.
Take it.